Going into this season, the 76ers have quietly put together possibly one of the best rosters since Joel Embiid was drafted by the team, with maybe the exception of the Jimmy Buckets year. The franchise has made some amazing moves this offseason to help support Embiid, Harden, and Maxi, starting with the trade that sent Danny Green and David Rudy to the Grizzlies for DeAnthony Melton, who's a much-needed addition to a squad that's lacking in players who can go up and grab boards, while also adding an intensity that you want around when it comes to the playoffs. They were also able to sign Montres Harrell, who's a reliable backup center, who's also capable of putting together top-tier strings of games similar to the ones that he had at the beginning of last season, where he was atop some people's early MVP lists. They were also able to lock down PJ Tucker into a multi-year contract, and despite him getting up there in age, he's still capable of defending 1 through 5 and still a reliable role player for a contending team looking to add some extra defensive presence coming off the bench. With these new additions and a lot of the players running it back, this team looks legit. And with Harden finally slimming down, it seems he's fully bought into the system. And although the old Harden with his quick step might not be there anymore, he's still a talented playmaker and someone who can still drop the shoulder and get around the odd defender when needed. And with Maxi set to enter his 3rd year where most players truly take another step forward, that should be a load off Harden's shoulders anyways. Hopefully this team can stay healthy throughout the regular season and into the playoffs so they can fully achieve their potential. Of course, the reason that I'm saying this is because the many struggles the 76ers and specifically Embiid has gone through trying to complete a regular season and a postseason without missing mass amounts of games. And this trend started off before Embiid was even a part of the NBA, as days before the draft, he underwent surgery to repair his foot, which at the time wasn't a huge issue for then 76ers GM Sam Hinkie. And when Embiid may or may not have been 100% for the following season, this also wasn't a huge problem for Hinkie either, as all of this was part of his process, and resulted in the organization being able to also draft Ben Simmons. Although Simmons didn't play in his first year either, when him and Embiid finally got on the court together, they were able to make it in the playoffs and finish 3rd in the East. But in the final games before the end of the season, Embiid suffered an orbital fracture in his left eye that forced him to miss the first 2 games of the playoffs. They would ultimately beat Miami even with Embiid in a face mask, but they would ultimately lose to the baby Celtics in the 2nd round, which of course was a result of a huge list of things that is way too long for this video. But it mustn't have helped that Embiid was playing with a messed up eye that sometimes leaves players hesitant to play physical while it's recovering, which is Embiid's bread and butter. Going into the 2018-19 season, Embiid was struggling with left knee tendonitis and was only able to play 10 out of the possible 24 games following the All-Star break, and was still up in the air going to the playoffs, as he was forced to miss Game 3 of the first round. Ultimately, he would return and struggle with a stomach virus during the series with the Raptors, and maybe he was just sick of watching Lowry, Kawhi, and the boys drop buckets on his head. Embiid and the Sixers would bring the series to Game 7, and had a chance until a dagger last-second shot that had many Philly fans, and Joel Embiid in tears. But going into this season, there was a lot of motivating factors that could help light a fire under Embiid. Most recently his shortcomings for MVP, and if you ask some fans, they would tell you that Embiid was snubbed for last year's award. And looking at their personal and team stats, there is a case that Embiid did have a better season than Nikola Jokic. But with that being said, going into this season, Jokic would need to put up a prolific year to secure this year's award, as three-peat MVPs are extremely unprecedented, with only 3 players, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird, ever accomplishing this feat. But it would seem that this year's award should be up for grabs with Embiid being one of the front-running favorites going into this season. This might be Embiid's greatest shot at a title since entering the league. Having James Harden looking locked in and committed, Maxi primed to take another step forward, and the rest of the team with players such as Tobias Harris surrounding them, creating a squad of players who were able to complement the main star's game. So now the only question is on how this team will look going into this season.
Critics of James Harden or the 76ers at large may forget that Harden has actually only played 21 regular season games with the Sixers since he got traded from the Nets last year. From this, we can really only assume that his chemistry with the team will get a lot better going into next season, allowing him to find more scoring and assist opportunities within the team's offense, hopefully elevating the team to another level if everything goes right for them. And while the minor injuries as well as weight antics to escape from the Rockets for the past few years have set Harden back, he's still James Harden, one of the most prolific and versatile scorers the modern NBA has seen. proven by him leading the NBA in scoring for 3 straight years on the Rockets, from the 2018 season to the 2020 season. During this run, he definitely used to get away with cheesing a lot more trips to the line, back when the NBA was a lot more lax on, flinging yourself into people to draw fouls at the 3 line. However, despite what people who think Harden is the NBA devil think, free throws were never the main part of his game, as during his big 3-season scoring run, he was averaging points in the mid-30s while making around 10 free throws a game. Comparing this to his time on the Sixers, he averaged 7.9 free throws in 21 games. It's a change, but it's not the end of the world for Harden to have around 2 less free throws a game. Provided Harden finds the motivation to get back into the shape he was in during his Rockets scoring title runs, the Sixers should in theory dominate the East, having one of the most versatile duos in history, covering almost every area of the game at a top level. It's very likely that we'll see Harden and Embiid at the top of almost every stat category on their team, with Embiid being a point, block, and rebound machine, and with Harden still being a very good scorer, passer, and no slouch on the steals either. There have been situations like this before, with a great versatile duo to varying degrees of success throughout the years in the NBA, but one thing we firmly believe will set this team apart is that, as mentioned earlier, on top of this deadly duo, any opponents will have to deal with the amazing supporting cast backing the duo up. The Sixers are looking really stacked this year, having some reliable options for scoring beyond the arc with Tobias Harris, Daniel House Jr., Furkan Korkmaz, and DeAnthony Melton, all being proven 3-point threats. So we know that at all times, there will likely be at least 2 players and sometimes even 4 players capable of punishing double teams on Harden, or more importantly Embiid, by drilling an open 3. Most of these players listed besides Korkmaz are also very capable defenders as well, and might just be able to cover for old man Harden's slack on defense. But there's one member of the Sixers I haven't even mentioned yet that might just be the X factor for the team: Tyrese Maxi. He took a huge leap in his first year to his second after the Ben Simmons fiasco left the Sixers without a proper starting point guard, going from 8 points and 2 assists per game in his first year to 17 points per game and 4 assists per game in his second. The thing with Tyrese is he's only 21, and will likely make another jump soon in his career, given that he's so young and so good already. Whether he's fitting in on the starting lineup, being a hustle guy that's also a bucket machine, or leading the bench unit, eating other bench units alive, or a mix of both, he's going to be able to play large minutes with a lot of energy and effort, and contribute to a lot of wins. When you look at this team on paper, it really does seem like one of, if not the strongest roster heading into the 2022-23 season. The 2 proven stars have an amazing supporting cast we've barely scratched the surface of that will give the stars room to operate. And the team has a good age range with a number of vets and young players alike for a good mix of smarts and effort when either are needed. Of course, there are a few factors that could go wrong, such as Harden not finding his second win for a championship run, Maxi regressing from last year with a less defined role, or Embiid continuing to struggle with injuries, keeping him out for long periods. However, even if a few things don't turn out the way the Sixers wanted to, they'll still be fighting for that championship with the stacked team they've assembled. And if all things work out perfectly for the Sixers, then the league better watch out. Yo, if you made it here, thanks for watching, and if you're feeling extra nice today, smash that sub button for more videos on everything NBA. Peace.